Hi, I am Sam, and I don't believe in clean builds. In this video, I'll walk you through the full build and weathering process of this 35th scale Lanz Bulldog tractor, so you can bring this kind of finish into your own builds. The box art is colorful and really well done. It gives you a clear idea of what the final build can look like. The instructions are clean and easy to follow, which is always a plus with MiniArt kits. You also get two painting options, both are really nice, but for me, I'm going with the faded blue. So let's get started. Starting with part removal, cutting from the sprues, then cleaning up with a sharp blade and a sanding stick. Take your time with the blade, light passes, controlled cuts, and try not to remove anything that isn't plastic. For curved areas, sanding sponge works much better. Time for assembly. I'm using Tamiya Extra Thin for this. It flows nicely into the joints and gives you a clean bond without excess glue. Some cleaning is required for this part so it can fit. Tiny parts are handled with tweezers. Next, I am attaching the rear wheel driving axles. Here I am attaching the towing hook mount and later the towing hook itself. The kit provides some PE parts. I'm using tweezers and CA glue to glue them in place. The engine compartment has 5 parts and they all go together flawlessly. Honestly, MiniArt did a great job engineering this kit. And this is how it looks. Looks nice, isn't it? This part is also attached, which I think it's some sort of a belt for the engine. Driver seat and control arms have been built off camera, and now I'm attaching the fenders. The air intake also attached in its place. And here I am making a mistake by attaching the exhaust. This should be left for the end to be attached after being painted. The front wheel's leaf spring was attached with no issues. And finally, the headlights. Now moving to the rear wheels. The rear wheels are made out of 3 parts and they are really nicely engineered. The front wheels are made of 4 pieces each. Ejector pin marks were cleaned before gluing. The fit was not so great in the front wheels, as you can see here. I made it something wrong or something I could not predict. Here you can see I'm cleaning and sanding the wheels. There was some flush also between the treads that I had to remove using a chisel. I'm making tubes using 0.3mm lead wires. CIA glue and accelerator used here to attach the lead wires. And here is the full kit after assembly. Honestly, it looks good even without paint. So, let's start the painting. I always start with a primer. It helps the paint adhere better and gives a consistent base. Here I'm using Vallejo acrylic black primer for a smooth and even coat. The same primer has been applied on the wheels too. After priming, I added some pre-shading using Tamiya XF2 to create some subtle variation across the surfaces. Same thing for the wheels, but only focusing on the rims here. For the wheel rims, I mixed Tamiya Red XF7 with Hull Red XF9 to create a red oxide primer tone. No exact ratio here, just mix until it feels right. I did lose the base color footage painting, unfortunately. However, the base color is made of XF18 medium blue, XF8 flat blue, and a bit of white. Again, there is no exact ratio here, just mix until you are happy with it. Here I am painting the radiator in black to create a solid base for the brass finish. I'm using Mr. Metal Color Brass for the radiator. It goes on smoothly and gives a great coverage. After that, everything gets a full coat of Tamiya X22 clear. This gives a smooth surface for the decals and helps panel line washes flow better. And this is how it looks after the clear coat. For the rubber parts of the wheels, I used Vallejo Model Air Tire Black. It took a couple of coats to build up a solid and even finish. I've painted the headlight trim rings with Vallejo silver to give them a clean metallic finish. Time for the panel line wash. I'm using Tamiya black panel liner to bring out the details and create soft shadows around the edges. I make sure to cover all the details here. I really like how they start to pop once the panel liner is applied. I use a Q-tip dampened with AK enamel thinner to clean up the excess wash and keep everything sharp. For hard-to-reach areas, I switch to a fine brush for more precise cleanup. Also, I'm using the brush around the photo-etched parts. It's very easy to break them or take them off. And here's how it looks after the wash. Clean and sharp, but not for long. To prepare for weathering and seal everything so far, I'm applying a couple of coats of VMS matte finish. I'm using liquid chrome for the inside of the headlights to get a bright, reflective finish. Then I'm gluing the clear parts of the headlights, using just a little bit of Tamiya cement. I painted the photo-etched brand plates in red, then gently rubbed the raised lettering with pencil eraser to reveal the metal underneath for a clean result. Here's how it looks. Very nice, I guess. And here I'm attaching them with CA glue and the license plate also. Now let's move on to the weathering. Using a magic sponge from Getz, I started the weathering by applying chipping across the model. The color I used for the chipping is Vallejo German Grey. I used a small piece of the sponge with the tweezers for the areas that's hard to reach. To connect the small chips and create even larger chips, I'm using a brush. The same chipping technique is also applied on the wheels. Here I am painting the exhaust in neutral gray. This will be the base for the rust effects I'll add later. For the earth effects, I'm spraying a light coat of Tamiya buff on the lower parts of the tractor to simulate dust and dirt buildup. I am also spraying the buff inside the operator's area and underneath the tractor. I am also applying the same color on the tires walls. You don't have to be precise here, randomness is the key. Here I'm comparing the wheels to the rest of the tractor to keep the dust tones consistent. For dirt buildup, I'm using VMS pigments, which is light Europe earth, with VMS universal weathering carrier to create a realistic textured finish. Using a brush, I'm applying the texture to the lower parts of the tractor, keeping it within the previously applied Tamiya buff to maintain a consistent dust tone. I'm focusing on the areas where dirt is accumulating naturally. You can also use the weathering carrier by itself to soften the edges of the dirt and make the transition smoother. For the wheels, I covered most of them with the texture, especially between the treads. I know it looks messy right now, but believe me, once it dries, it looks really good. You can always come back with the universal weathering carrier to smooth the build-up. This is how it looks after drying. Now moving to the exhaust. I'm covering the entire area with different colors in a random pattern. This will be the base for the rust effects that's coming later. The colors I'm using are acrylic Vallejo, white, earth, khaki, and blue. Then I'll cover the entire exhaust with Tamiya brown wash to bring all the tones together and blend the variation. Here I'm applying AK crusted rust effects randomly over the exhaust to build up additional rust tones and textures. And finally, I'm applying a layer of AK rust effects over the exhaust to unify the tone and give it a final weathered look. Any hard edges could be blended using a Q-tip. Sat effect has been applied on the tip of the exhaust. Dirt effects also has been added to the driver compartment. I'm just using a brush here and applying it directly. Then I'll fix everything and blend the effect using VMS Universal Weathering Carrier. Here I'm using MIG enamel track wash to simulate oil leaks and add a wet effect over the dirt for extra depth and realism. And here is the final result of the model. By the way, this is my very first video here on YouTube, so if you enjoyed the process, I'd really appreciate a like and a share. And if you like what I'm doing, don't forget to subscribe. There's more builds coming. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll leave you now with some shots of the model. Stay safe, keep modeling, and I'll see you on the next build.